How's it going, everybody? So, what's up, Mayor? You coming in? Come here. Mayor's trying to get in. How's it going, everybody? So this is the a shop tour I'm doing for you guys. The very first one I've done of the shop. I've had a lot of people comment and say they want to see a tour, so we're going to do that today. Real quick, this video is being brought to you by Skillshare. I'm going to talk more about them in a little bit. But I want to start the tour out with the barn door, which a lot of people have made mention and asked about. Well, this is made out of cypress. It's stained with a finish called Sickens, which has worked great. I put an extra coat on it this year, but this thing gets western sun. It's going to be a little windy out here. It's got a cold front hit us today. This thing gets western sun and it still holds up great finish-wise. And plus it's cypress, so cypress is a great exterior wood. It'll hold up to the elements. This is where we store our lumber. This is the drop-off bin, which is, as usually, pretty unorganized. I organize this probably once every 2 or 3 months, and it gets messy within like a week. So, you know, it's useful. I can pull stuff out of here, make cutting boards out of a lot of this. I use a lot of this for projects. It's just nice to have these extra pieces. You know, I got slabs up there and stuff like that. This is where all the lumber goes that we're using. You got a bunch of alder up here right now for a project. Okay, so this is the first machine I'll show you guys. Sometimes the very first one we use. This is not a very nice machine. It's pretty junky, but it's designed just for rough cutting. It's a radial arm saw. Any material that comes off the rack, first we'll rough cut to length with this so we can manage it. Before this, we were using a skill saw, so this is a little easier. We have a big long outfeed table. We can cut really long boards on this. But I know what you're all looking at right now, and it's probably the axes hanging on the wall back there. So yes, I did get these from Matt. He gave these to me because he's such a nice guy. I use these for my axe sewing target. They're a lot of fun. I also have a slingshot, a couple small hatchets just in case. All the fun stuff right there. So I want to take a quick break from the shop tour to talk a little bit about Skillshare. They're an online learning community that offers classes for anybody who's interested in learning about business, photography, film, design. They have craft on there. They have a wide range of subjects and wide range of content that you can go on there and learn essentially about anything you want to learn about. They have a premium membership that gives you unlimited access to these classes for $10 a month. I personally have been using it for the last 3 months and have found it very useful in a few subjects, both photography and design. As I've been working on my new website, I've been taking a lot of photos and wanting to do graphics on it and stuff. So I've tapped into some of those videos to get the basics of photography back and kind of go over that. So I found that very useful. I plan on using it. It's a great platform. I know the value of knowledge, and as an entrepreneur, I know how hard it is sometimes to wear all the hats you have to wear as a business owner, to be an accountant, a marketer, a salesman. I have to be able to teach myself how to do that. I'm not going to hire people. I don't have the resources to do that, so I figured it out myself. So Skillshare is a great platform for that. And as a part of this partnership, they're offering for the first 300 clicks in the link below in the description, you get a 2-month free trial. So I would recommend you go down there real quick right now, click the link, go get your free trial, check it out. So thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Okay, so we get most of our material rough, which means it hasn't been serviced. This alder actually is serviced on 2 faces, but most of our material comes to us rough, which means it needs to be dressed and milled and cleaned up. And we use this machine here. This is a joiner planer combo machine to do that. Okay, so the way this machine works, it's currently set up in the planing mode. It has a bed inside right here. Cutter head is obviously in here. And this is where you feed the part in, and it comes out right here and it planes the thickness. In order to use the joiner, you drop the bed down, flip the dust hood, and then the entire tabletop drops down into a joiner. And so this is set up now as a joiner so I can face joint and edge joint. You can also see here that I've put a helical head on this. This jet joiner didn't come with it. This is a bird head. I added it on after the fact. The advantage to these is they last a lot longer. They're easy to replace. You can get these little squares have 4 cutter edges on them, so you can get 4 turns. You turn it 4 times, and that's how many times you can use it before you have to eventually throw it away. It can't be sharpened, but I can get about 12 months out of one set. Sometimes more than that, but I usually change them out because I like them sharp. Okay, so once we face joint and edge joint and we've dressed our material, we usually have to rip it to width we need. So that's what we use the table saw for. This is the table saw. I'm really not going to talk a whole lot about it other than the fact that this is the most important machine in the shop, really the most used, the most dangerous, but it does so many things for us. It does joinery, it cuts to length, it rips stock, it can do a lot. So the reason I'm not talking much about this is you notice this is a new saw, and I have a whole nother video dedicated to it. So be on the lookout for that. Right now, I'm not going to give much away about it. So let's move on. Now, the joiner and planer combo machine is a great little machine. But if we can do it, we try to use this machine. This is a Watkin S4S. It's the FSP 180. This is a servicing machine. It's also a molder. It'll cut flooring and stuff like that. But I mainly only use it to S4S lumber. You've got 4 cutter heads in this. It cuts the bottom of a board first, the side of the board, the opposite side of the board here, and then finally the top of the board here. So it'll cut all 4 faces in one single pass. Okay, so here it is. You can see it's pretty much milled perfectly. You've got good face here, good face here, good face here. There is a spot I missed because I didn't get the setting quite right, but you can see the difference between rough and smooth right there. But you can see, so you can see how fast that process is in comparison to joining this board on 2 faces, setting up my planer, planing it down where the planer can only take about at the most a 16th, probably not even that much. So you're talking about probably 3 or 4 passes to get it milled down and clean up, and then taking it to the table saw, ripping it to the width you need. This thing did all that in one machine in a matter of 20-30 seconds, you know, if you don't count for the setup. So that's why I have this. It's just a super valuable machine. It really helps speed up production. When you're doing a large amount of board footage, it can really save you money. So this is rated for 15 horsepower to start, and it'll run up to 40 continuously. But surprisingly enough, it actually does start a 20 horsepower motor. It starts my white belt, no problem, which has got 20 horsepower. So it's a good little phase converter. It helps me run the big industrial equipment and gets my 3-phase power. Obviously, I also have to have a compressor to run compressed air. Both the S4S and the wide belt use compressed air, and we use it for, you know, nail guns and blowing things off and stuff like that. So I have this brand new Quincy. I just got this one. It's a 2-stage 60-gallon compressor, nothing fancy. I don't have an air dryer on it. I run my air through this kind of radiator setup, and it drains. That hurt my ears a lot. It drains water out of each one of those drains, and it goes into a regulator filter back there. So I run air all the way around, obviously to the S4S and to the sander. And that's pretty much it. So while I'm back in this corner, I might as well talk a little bit about our dust collector. It's an Oneida 5 horsepower. I forget how much CFM it does, but it's over 2,000, I think. It has a gauge on it right here that tells me the pressure. I don't really know a lot about it, but it tells me the pressure coming through the filter, and if I'm getting above 3, let me turn this on real quick. If the needle's going above 3, then I know I need to clean the filter. And we also have this light here that tells us when the bin's full. But at the end of it, especially when we're running this wide belt and a lot of fine dust is coming through the dust collector, at the end of the day, this can shoot up to 4 on this gauge. And so what we'll do is we'll come around, blow the filter off, and it'll fixes the problem immediately. All the fine dust falls right down in here, and we take that out and dump it. So that's it. Man, it's a really useful machine. That gauge is super helpful to tell us when the dust collector is getting clogged up and the filter's not working well. It restricts the airflow, and it just doesn't work as well. So daily we have to maintain that and blow that filter out, and that keeps us full efficiency. Okay, so we've covered pretty much most of this side of the shop, all the equipment. So let's turn around and go to the actual fun part of the shop. Okay, so this is where everything happens. There's hand tool work going on here, assembly, where everything kind of comes together. And you can even see in here we have some projects in process. Obviously, a lot of you guys have already seen this trestle table we're working on. I'm working on finished samples for those today, actually. And then all these parts right here are going to be, let me Grab that. We've got an order for 300 of these little signs right here. And these are going to be signs that go on their retail displays. It just kind of leans up like that. They can stand it on their displays, or it has holes in the back. You can see where they can hang it on the wall. So the steel part, obviously, we didn't do. They had those done. And then we have a little gap here so they can slide different materials in and different colors in behind it. But that's happening right now. Ryan's been working on those. We also have, this is kind of the skeleton of a little semi-cabinet job. This is going to be an office credenza out of Texas pecan. Got a face frame here and side panels sitting here. So this is all in process, getting built. Typically we have 2 to 3 jobs going at once, which is not always the best way to do because it takes up space. But it helps to kind of have several going. So if you have downtime on one and the clamps, you can go work on the other. A lot of times you got to be pretty good at jumping around from project to project and kind of clearing your mind and getting focused on the other one. So one thing I always kind of struggle with is being organized. It drives me crazy how it's so important in a shop like this to keep everything organized, keep the flow going, and it's also really important when you have all the administrative side, which I have to do, and I'm not very good at it. So I constantly am trying to come up with processes to make it better. And here's kind of what I have, and immediately you can tell by looking at this that I'm unorganized. It still says September. We're in October. And if you notice, I only have 2 weeks filled out down here. That's because I waited till those last 2 weeks to change it from August to September. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm so busy, I can't keep on track of everything. I also have down here weekly tasks that we try to stay on top of. Little thoughts and ideas are written down here. All the projects sit on clipboards. So this is, I'll just take this down and show it to you guys. This is the credenza that Ryan is working on with shop drawings, measurements. Every project has an order sheet with information about it, the name of the project, the hours it's bid, the finish, materials we need, cut lists, notes. We track our hours on each project. We do that with every one of these. So that's the pecan office credenza. These are the headboards that you saw in the beginning of the video. That needs to go away. This is the trestle table we're working on. Hopefully I can improve myself on this. This little board is, I built this board earlier this year, and it really has been super helpful. I mean, I can put all the projects that we're working on right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I've put on. There's a few that are in the finalization phase that'll go on soon. But you know, we finish something, pull it off, move them all up. It kind of keeps us in track. It keeps me, I know what we've got going. I can transfer those to the calendar. It's a really good system that I sometimes don't pull through on, as you can tell, but I'm gonna try it. Okay, so here's a quick look at my lathe. This is not anything fancy or anything special. It's just an old Delta lathe. Very little speed. I've got step centers in here for turning spindles or turning off center. Work really well. Nice little rack here to hold my chisels, gouges. I purposely put it in front of a window so I have good lighting on it, and also when I sand on it I can put a fan up here and suck the dust right out of the shop. That's pretty much it. You know, there's nothing fancy about this. This thing is definitely in need of being replaced, but it's not high on the list. So until it breaks down, I'll keep using it. Okay, and then moving back in the corner, I've got a dehumidifier, which works pretty well. It's a little bit undersized for this shop, but on really humid days, I'll crank that on and get the humidity down. Fridge, which isn't on and never gets used. All the equipment that was where the wide belt sits now, this old Toolcraft sander, my drill press, which actually wasn't over there, but it was back here, my Sandrite pump up sander, and then my bandsaw have been moved against this wall. These are all just basic machines. This thing is a dinky little thing I picked up at a garage sale for like $50, or I think I paid 20. I don't remember what I paid for it. It does the job. I use it for little things. This thing is great. We use this a lot for spoons and stuff. You can actually pump up this bag right here with air and get it to different firmness. so it'll really stand well. The brush head, I don't have the abrasives on right now. I need to get some more. You can put different size pumps on here. This is the bigger one. You can get smaller ones on there, but this is made by Sandrite. This is actually a really nice machine. My little 14-inch bandsaw, which I have mixed feelings about this bandsaw. There's days when I want to take it outside and beat it with a baseball bat, and there's days when it works fine. So for the most part, I would prefer to just be done with it and replace it, but it's kind of not high on the list right now. Looking up, you may notice the rim, the hoop's missing from the basketball goal, which is a huge bummer. And I know you guys probably won't believe this, but I actually broke that thing while I was shooting the video for it. I dropped it off my workbench and broke the hoop in half, the rim. And I splined it back together and glued it back together and duct taped it. And it's held up now for, I don't know, like 6 months. And it finally broke in an intense game of horse between Ryan and I. So I'm in the process of designing. Here's the rim up there, actually, in bad shape. I'm in the process of improving that. I'm going to put a new one up there because I love that thing. I shoot on it constantly. So does Ryan. So that'll be getting fixed real soon. I hate to see it out of commission right now, but I know a lot of you guys have been asking what happened to the basketball hoop, and the rim broke. Okay, so here's a look at all my favorite things, my hand tools. I have the hand plane till, where I keep all my hand planes. I have number 8, a number 7, a number 5, 4.5, low angle jack, block plane, scrub plane, a couple of 4s here, and I have another 4.5. It's on my workbench, which this is my favorite plane, the one I use the most. It's just an old Stanley Bailey 4.5 smoothing plane. It's a really good plane. I put some Veritas steel in it, so it works pretty nice. I've got all my chisels down here. You might notice this one. I recently fixed this one up in a video. You can check that out. Got things like glue, super glue, oils for the planes, wax. All my jaw knives are sitting over here. My hold fast, which I use often from Lee Nielsen. Up here, so when I moved into this shop, I wanted to start doing something that made it feel more like, I don't know how to explain it, like a shop I've been in for years. So I started writing on the wall every time I finish a project that, a meaningful project that's a really nice piece of furniture or something of that nature. I write a little note about it up here, who the client was, the date I did it. And I hopefully over the years will fill this. My goal is to fill this whole wall, all in here with projects that I built. Just a few in here. I got a knife display case I made out of escarpment and cherry in November. A desk made out of riff oak. King headboard made from walnut, cut off a ranch near the Guadalupe River. That was in March. Ambleside School of Bernie. I built 32 desks and chairs last year for them. So it's cool. I can look up there and see some of the work I've done and kind of keep track of it. Okay, so moving over to this corner. Obviously, I got my golf club. If you guys want to check that out, I made this in a video as well. This thing works great, man. I can crush this thing. Keep it right there for when you want to hit golf balls. My saw till, also made in the video. I keep all my hand saws in here. So this space back in here is the only really storage cabinet I have. It's super messy. This is an old nail cabinet. Well, not an old nail cabinet. I made this a couple of years ago. Keep all my hardware in. It's supposed to have a door, never finished it. It's supposed to have pulls, but I decided to use screws instead because I never bought them. But the screws work pretty good. So the stereo, obviously, we gotta have tunes in the shop. Oh, I wonder what's playing right now. The road goes on forever. Willie Nelson. So moving along here, these are my toolboxes. These are probably 10 years old. I made these when I first got started. Cool dovetail boxes. Keep a lot of hand tools. Got drawers, clamps up here. You want to see how unorganized I am? It's like 4 months worth of receipts, drawings. I gotta get it together. Router bits, random stuff in there. This is all kind of stresses me out. I need to get this cleaned up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the workbenches. Let me turn this off so I don't get in trouble. So a lot of you guys comment about my workbench. It is a Paul Sellers bench. I have taken classes with Paul way back when he lived in Texas. He taught classes at Homestead Heritage. I took several from him, and these are the workbenches they use there, and these are the same benches I use. They've been great benches. This is actually my dad's. He let me borrow it, and he may never get it back, but we'll see about that. I've gotten a lot of comments from people too about my placement of my vise because I'm right-handed and it's placed in a position for a left-handed woodworker. And the reason for that is because I built this bench when I was first getting started and I really had no clue what I was doing. So I just put the vise there and I've just gotten used to it, so it doesn't bother me at all. My other vise is also set up for a left-hander. This bench, obviously, we got it right. It's on the right side, so but it doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. It works fine. So I do want to build a nicer bench. I would love to have one, but these benches work great for what I do. You don't need a super fancy bench to build nice furniture. So I wanted to use this shop tour video to also introduce you guys to Ryan, who works for me. He's been with me now for about a year. He came in pretty green. I had a little experience in carpentry and some furniture work, but for the most part, he had a lot of learning to do, and he's done really well. He's become a huge asset in the shop. Super helpful. So you've already seen some of him in some of my videos. I'll probably see a lot more of him in the future. So let's go in and see what he's up to. Okay, so that pretty much closes it down. I think we've covered everything. I hope you guys have learned something from this and have gained a little knowledge. Remember, you can always follow us on Instagram and Facebook to check out more of what's going on in here. And as always, thanks guys for tuning in. Appreciate it.